Hello and welcome back to Coin Lady channel. Chief Legal Officer of Ripple, Stuart Alderoty, publicly insulted Kim Jong GENSLER on Twitter yesterday. And it's fantastic, by the way. See for yourself how much it was in his face. He lifted a tweet word for word, a recent tweet by Gary GENSLER about whom more below. And then he retweeted it with a mocking meme attached, which I will now demonstrate. And it gave me a great deal of pleasure. In addition, Jeremy Hogan, an attorney, explains why the United States is the primary target of attacks on the cryptocurrency market. And I think that sums up the situation pretty accurately. The United States government is particularly hostile towards crypto. Perhaps there are a couple of others that are worse, such as North Korea. However, there is a relatively short list before the United States would be at the top. It's absurd, but there's logic behind it. I'm curious as to how many of you will be able to guess it before we even get to that point in the movie. But there is something I need to clarify before we go any further. I come from no financial or legal background. Do not buy or sell anything based on anything I say or write. I'm not a licensed attorney or financial advisor. I'm just a fan that occasionally posts films to YouTube regarding crypto-related subjects for pleasure and as a pastime. Okay, then? The following is a video clip and a tweet from Gary GENSLER from 2 days ago. In a moment, I'll play the video. Here, however, is what Gary GENSLER had to say about the video he was posting. Investment contract intermediaries must register with the SEC and abide by applicable securities regulations. Instead, there are numerous cryptocurrency exchanges that are insisting their investment contracts are not securities. What something is, rather than what you label it, is what matters to the law. This 4-minute clip also does some of what I just described. I didn't even try to give a description. I'll only give a brief summary of the essentials. The hypocrisy is the most amusing aspect. He mentions that, and I'm interpreting here, of course, but in some parks, dogs are not allowed. The basic rule is that if you bring a dog along, it needs to be on a leash at all times. In some jurisdictions, that is the law. A law enforcement official may issue a citation if they see you and your dog in a public place like a park without the dog being restrained by a leash. Even if you convince the cop that your dog is truly a goldfish, he or she is still likely to give you a citation for having an animal that is not a goldfish in the street. And then he claims that the same can be said for crypto, which is obviously the argument he's trying to make. You can argue that cryptocurrencies aren't investments since they aren't contracts or securities, but anyone with eyes can see through that. You can try to rename it all you want, but it will always be what it is. After taking a look at it, I had the same opinion as XRP Productions did. We also worry about what something actually is, not what you name it, he responded back to Gary GENSLER. Similarly, this situation is comparable to that. If you want to get technical, Gary GENSLER, you could say that XRP is the embodiment, if that's the right phrase, of Ripple's efforts or the investment contract itself. You can make that claim, but it's not the same as saying that it's only a digital asset, which is a different pick. Let me inform you. Hopefully, government agencies will be forced to figure it out. That's something we can't avoid doing. This is not a security, however, in and of itself. The underlying asset itself is never the security. So, the same analogy holds true here. If you think XRP is a security, you might as well call Gary GENSLER your puppy or a goldfish. A dog is not a goldfish, as you so rudely put it. It's the same line of reasoning. There is no significance to it. On the surface, something may seem like a brilliant or interesting idea, but it doesn't do much. As Chief Legal Officer and top lawyer at Ripple, Stuart Alderoty retweeted Gary GENSLER's message, assuring that he, or whoever manages Gary GENSLER's Twitter account, would see it. This photo could have been taken and posted by someone else entirely. And those of you looking at the screen can already see. However, for those of you who may be driving or otherwise unable to look at the screen, I will briefly describe it. But there's a dude with a leash, the kind you'd normally associate with a dog. The goldfish in the bowl is wearing a collar. Consequently, then what would happen if the SEC oversaw animal control, according to Stuart Alderoty? So that you won't have to wear the dog. The dog is not to be leashed. The goldfish is now attached to its leash. because now the SEC has a leash on whatever hell animal it is that it wants to control. That's a fairly close approximation. He's obviously making fun of Gary Gensler. I am present and ready. I think it's hilarious since it's so obviously mocking, and it's fair to assume that most people feel the same way about Gary Gensler. In other words, make fun of the guy. Here's what lawyer John Deaton had to say in rebuttal to that video footage. "Hello, Gary," he wrote to Gary Gensler. In addition, he labeled Gerber, "What gives with this? Where did you hear that name?" Nope, this is just the official Twitter feed for the SEC's Director of Enforcement. And so we take that into account, and he says, "Hey, Gary, how about you cite a single case in the 76 years since Howey was decided that says, either A, the underlying asset used in an investment contract is itself a security, or B, the investment contract itself is not a security. The resale of an investment contract is also considered the sale of a security. Due to the novelty of the initial offering, I dare the SEC to identify a single case from US history in the amicus brief filed by XRP holders, but the SEC failed to do so." You just keep doing that, and Gary can come up with all these wonderful little metaphors, analogies, whatever the hell. Whatever with the canine fish analogy. But you're mistaken, and attorney John Deaton's rebuttal here is well supported by the evidence. Neither the asset itself nor its secondary market trades constitute a security. But take a look at what it is you want. Then there was this as well. On Twitter, one Jason published a video featuring creator Eric Voorhees, CEO of the cryptocurrency exchange Shapeshift, who penned the letter A New Financial System, in which money is independent of the state and is managed by transparent, immutable code, is what Eric Voorhees sees as crypto's ultimate goal. But states won't willingly cede authority over fiscal matters. And here's where Jeremy Hogan, an attorney, steps in with the following. He claimed to be mostly right, and that's why the government ignores crypto's potential as a fiat currency alternative. The United States has been more aggressive in its attacks on crypto than other countries. Keep the dollar safe. Like all wars, this one is about establishing dominance and establishing authority. True enough. And I have been elaborating on this idea in recent posts. You may have seen in a few films that the United States does not want to give up the status of having its currency serve as the world's de facto reserve currency because of the influence and sway it gives Washington. But, and primarily the direction I was going in those conversations was that, I genuinely believe this given the debased state of the United States dollar, it's inevitable. Even for that reason alone, the USD reign as the world's reserve currency cannot be assured. You can't just treat a fiat currency like that and assume it will be fine forever as you run up debt and print more and more of it until it disappears. Just give it some time. Time, however much of it would have to pass, would be sufficient. But that's not the only thing we're planning. It's not as if the rest of the world wants to depend on the United States for this. That's kind of a no-brainer, right? Take a gander at today's front page of the Daily Huddle. As BRICS prepares to launch a new global currency, 24 countries have united in opposition to the US dollar. 24 countries are currently working to form a strategic alliance to compete with the United States dollar as the global reserve currency. The BRICS club of 5 economically similar countries is rumored to be on the verge of a major expansion. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa form the backbone of the group, and a sudden influx of interested nations would boost the total number of members to 24. Anil Sukhal, South Africa's BRICS ambassador, says as much. Okay, fine. I'm hopeless when it comes to foreign names. What exactly do you need me to do? Have a name I can easily pronounce, and we'll be okay. I'm going to shorten your name to John. For the duration of this arc, you are now John. John, according to Bloomberg, many countries are eager to participate. John notes that the alliance has received formal requests from 13 countries and informal requests from an additional 6 countries. Saudi Arabia, Iran, Argentina, the United Arab Emirates, Algeria, Egypt, Bahrain, Indonesia, 2 unnamed East African countries, and 1 unnamed West African country are among the known entrants. In any case, I hope this helps. It's something else to keep in mind. What transpires, we shall see. I can't guess how fast that would progress. Unless a catastrophic catalyst is present, I suppose it may be somewhat like a someone I don't know. My feelings on this matter are somewhat ambivalent at best. To put it another way, is it more of a gradual process, where the dollar gradually loses its status over time, or is there some type of sudden event that opens the floodgates? It seems to be progressing slowly at first, and there are X factors that ultimately have to come into play. And then, eventually, it becomes completely obvious that the ship has sailed, and that's probably when the floodgates open here. But it seems like everything is happening at once. It appears that the stage has been prepared. The show has officially started. I have no idea how long this will take, but obviously it's not merely that the government's mistreatment of the currency can't go on forever. The problem is that no one else wants to be dependent on that kind of authority. That this would be something that competes with it and that they would ultimately be in charge makes sense to me. Eric Voorhees, on the other hand, is talking about a worldwide issue that nobody has any special control over. You see that as an improvement. Of course, if you're the boss, you'd like to have that. In a perfect world, though, if everything is brand new and everyone is present, you'd want this one thing in which no one is particularly invested. Is it something we may expect to see in the near future? Simply said, something has never happened before in human history. However, the necessary technology has never been available. Is that something we can expect to see? It's not completely out of the question, and in fact, that's the case here. So, this is yet another reason why I'm glad to have some XRP in my possession. I don't claim to be a financial expert. My words here should not be used as a basis for making any financial transactions. Please like and subscribe my channel. See you later, bye.